Let us say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right, thank you. Once again, we thank each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively for the co-creation of this interaction and the allowance of this transmission this day of your time. This transmission has been titled The People's Choice to allow us to explore new ideas, new topics that we have not either explored before at all with you or have not gone into great depth with. So, we can begin by allowing the vote to happen once the topics are read. Nania? Now, this will be by a show of hands. First, the 3 topics will be read, then read again one at a time with a show of hands to decide which one you shall vote shall be the topic. This will be a popular vote, not an electoral college vote. So, a little political humor for your planet. Please begin, Nania, with reading the topics that are available to vote on.
So,
Number 1.
Number 1 is the spectrum of fear. So this is all about the idea of the very different types of fear that you can experience on this planet and how to respond to them. Number 2 is artificial intelligence and how we're evolving in that direction in terms of understanding how to integrate with it and how to use it. And so a deeper exploration of our relationship to it and how that's going to change our lives as we expand as a civilization.
And number 3.
Number 3 is understanding grief. The idea that when we have loss through death or other reasons, we go through a lot of different stages. We have a lot of different experiences with it. It's a very powerful thing that you go through here on Earth. So Bashar will be explaining, if we choose that one, he'll be explaining how to understand that, how to shorten it, how to shift it, many different aspects of grief.
All right, so the spectrum of fear, artificial intelligence, and discussions about grief. So, read them off one at a time. Get a show of hands.
Okay, here we go. Spectrum of fear. All right, let's try it this way. Who doesn't want spectrum of fear? Okay, maybe about 10 people don't want it. So, okay. The next one is artificial intelligence. 6, 7, 8, 9. Still about 10 on that one. And finally, understanding grief. Just a few.
All right. So you have your vote?
Yeah, it was pretty overwhelming in terms of this audience about the spectrum of fear.
Yes, we thought it might be.
I'm scared.
That's somewhere on the spectrum. Now, before we go deeply into it, if you, those who attended last night's transmission, remember we were talking about the idea of sensing and predicting probabilities that exist at the time the prediction is made, yes? And so we took a reading of what would happen tonight. Nania, would you remove the envelope from under the stool? You may wish to open it and pass out the handouts to people, because the only download we knew we would need would be the spectrum of fear.
You are so psychic.
We are just reading probabilities in your energy. Let's make sure everyone has a handout so they can follow along. Is there anyone who does not have a handout? All right. Nania?
Yes.
You have one as well?
Yes.
All right. Then, one at a time, from the bottom up, allow yourself, Nania, to please read them out loud one at a time.
From the bottom
from the bottom up, because that's where it begins. It starts with self-awareness.
Basic self-awareness.
That lays the foundation. That allows you to understand yourself, to have a reflection of yourself, to create consciousness within you. And then
A plus, so awareness plus survival instinct.
So once you become self-aware in physical reality, the body consciousness, all of this now, these first ones are in the body consciousness spectrum, sort of an automatic function that comes along with body consciousness in having an incarnation. And the first representation of this energy would be what you will experience as survival instinct. And then
A plus survival awareness plus survival instinct plus L, which is learned and accepted parameters.
yes, so the limitations that are necessary for you to experience a physical reality set up a certain kind of barrier, border, parameters for you to follow, keeps you in a certain format or a certain focus. And the more that you explore this with a minimal amount of survival instinct, you gain what is simply called experience in living in physical reality. Now, these are the automatic functions, but now it goes into what we will call the intentional or the rational levels of fear and how you use them. So next, above that line,
Okay, and it's interesting how they're additive. So you
they
have
are all additive, yes.
you have automatic plus self-awareness.
Yes.
Or
The automatic self-awareness
survival instinct
plus survival instinct plus the limitations that you learn
plus experience.
and experience, this all becomes cumulative. And one builds on the other to create the next level.
Is that the caution, alertness?
The idea now is caution. Now, this is the intentional, rational level. When you have used your survival instinct and your self-awareness and the parameters that you've learned about existing in physical reality, now the first level, and again, not to say that this is fear as you understand it or as you commonly use that term, but it is an expression, a very low vibrational level of it where you become simply cautious about things. So you don't necessarily just see a spinning blade and go running into it because you have learned the limitations of what happens in physical reality when you do that, or simply go running across the street and get hit by a car. You become simply naturally somewhat cautious so you can navigate physical reality in a way that is protective of your survival instinct. And then above that,
Should I go through all the additives or just
no.
just do the added one?
You already now understand that this is all cumulative. Each level adds to the next, to the next, to the next, to create the next level above it.
Oh, I see. So now when you add caution to
Yes.
that mix, you end up with wariness.
Now you start to pick up on the idea that sometimes in your culture you have called bad vibes, where you simply feel that something may not be quite aligned here. You start being sensitive to the idea. You gain enough experience to become sensitive to the idea and be able to pick up on the idea that something may be out of alignment with your preferences in life, may not necessarily be to your benefit. And so you start becoming wary of certain things. Again, this is not necessarily automatically a negative. There is both a negative and a positive mix in this level of intentional and rational fear. But wariness can serve you, again, so that you can pay attention to the signs, or what you might call in your reality red flags, and know when somebody is telling you or a situation is telling you that you need to be cautious, you need to be wary, so that you can move into this with intention and your eyes open and alertness and navigate your way through this in a beneficial way for yourself by applying positive definitions. And now, cumulatively, above wariness, we come to what you classically call typical fear. Yes?
So this is the one where once you add in wariness,
Yes.
you end up with fear, right?
Yes, but now you have the idea that this can also be the result of positive things, negative things, and it can be mitigated by more positive definitions. But this is where fear can also be protective in a positive way by keeping you away from things that would actually be damaging to you, detrimental to you. Or it can be negative based on fear-based negative definitions that are not necessarily to your benefit. This is still within the level of the intentional and rational levels and expressions of cumulative energies that create fear, because you can still do something about it with your consciousness intentionally. So you get to use fear, if you wish, in a positive way by making fear your friend and knowing that fear in the positive sense, being defined that way, is now simply a messenger knocking on your door to tell you that you might have fear-based beliefs in your unconscious mind that you're unaware of. And it's helping put you in touch with that fact so that you can illuminate those things, find out what those definitions are in your unconscious mind, bring them to your conscious attention, and let them go if they're out of alignment with who you prefer to be, so that you can expand yourself in a positive way. And so on this level, this is the last level where you can use fear in a positive way by recognizing the negative definitions that have created the negative experience of fear within you. But now, above that, when you accumulate to the next level, you're actually crossing another threshold, and you're going into the irrational energies, where thought patterns become dissociative, where your energy becomes less, in a sense, controllable. You go into the idea, crossing that threshold, of paranoia. So now this is the first irrational idea. And of course, we understand the old joke on your planet, you're not being paranoid if somebody is actually after you. But this still is down in the level below that threshold, where you're actually making a rational recognition that you might actually be in physical harm or danger. When we're talking about the idea of crossing that line now into paranoia, we are talking about an irrational energy where now the negative beliefs that are now prevalent, wholly negative beliefs, are now taking over in a sense and allowing you to imagine things that are not necessarily true, blowing things up out of proportion and imagining things that are really not representative of anything going on outside you, but are more representative of the things going on inside you that you do not trust about yourselves. Panic now, being the next level that you accumulate, allows you to experience what you recognize as phobias, where you really have seemingly a completely uncontrollable paranoia about things in specific terms that you are now using as a symbol to represent the negative belief system. This goes into panic. And then, yes, when you add the panic to the mix, now you can go into terror. This starts really breaking down your thought process, any kind of rational experience at all. And when you cross that threshold, you then can go into the idea that terror can actually literally frighten you to death. Because the idea now is the survival instinct kicks in so strongly with terror that if you cannot find a rational way out of it, if you cannot bring in and mitigate that experience with some positive definition, the survival instinct will tell you that there is no other way out, and therefore the only door would be, in a sense, to survive in spirit, to leave the physical reality. So these are the formulas, the cumulative formula of energy that is called the spectrum of fear. You follow?
Yes, I almost feel like we need to reiterate it a little bit. Now, we haven't gone to death, right? We haven't done that one yet.
Death. Well, that's death.
Oh, that's death. But that's survival of spirit, it says.
Survival of spirit is natural because there is no way the spirit can die. So death is death of the physical in order to survive. Because the physical at that point does not find that there is any way for it to survive. It cannot find a way out. It cannot find a way to mitigate the terror. Therefore, if it doesn't find a way to mitigate the terror, it will die of fright. The physical consciousness will completely dissociate and will die of fright.
So like people that are being tortured and stuff like that and those terrible experiences, how do they stay alive?
Well, again, you have to look at the spectrum and understand that they may be applying certain other perspectives and definitions into what they're experiencing, and they're not always necessarily terrified. They may, in fact, be defiant. Do you understand?
Yes.
So they're looking for a way to find a positive belief system that can allow them to survive. Their survival instinct is helping them search for something that will give them the strength to survive. If they find it, then they will simply become defiant, not terrified. They will not be frightened to death.
So I'm just trying to grasp this whole thing because it's the first time I'm seeing it too. So the first level where you have automatic neutral body consciousness.
Yes.
That includes all the physical levels of fear? Is that the idea? Or is it the intentional and rational?
No. You will feel fear physically on the different levels, but we're just saying it starts with this neutral level that imbues you with a physical sensation that equates to or translates to the concept of survival instinct.
So similar to the idea of when a baby is born, they have a natural fear of falling. They have a fear of loud noises.
Survival instinct.
So that's where you're automatically programmed to be able to experience fear.
You are exploring with the survival instinct to determine the limitations, the parameters that define physical reality. You are gaining experience. But this is all, in a sense, on a relatively unconscious level. It's just in the body consciousness.
So all of these ones here that were self-awareness.
Yes.
And then your basic survival instinct.
Yes.
Awareness of self-imposed limitations. So that's like you start to become aware that you have physical limitations.
This is, don't touch the stove, it burns. You are learning your environment. That's a limitation to keep you healthy that you learn through experience.
And then experience is understanding these things and applying them so that you...
Yes. You build your world out of those ideas, those parameters, as to what is beneficial and what is not on that level.
And is this how the physical body actually evolves in its exploration of fear?
Yes.
It starts out on the physical level, understanding fear from the survival instinct.
Yes.
And then it moves into the second level, which is this is fear, wariness, and caution, which are...
Yes. Caution, wariness, and fear going
These are
upward.
mental states then at this point.
This is now awareness through experience of what works for you. Yes. The more experience you gain, the more you can use fear in a positive way to determine what works for you, what is and is not in alignment with what you prefer to experience and who you prefer to be. That's why these are still intentional and rational levels of fear.
So it's still rational because you're processing the experience and understanding
how the experience benefits or doesn't benefit you.
So like when people inherit fears from their parents.
Yes.
Or their society.
Yes.
Is that in this level?
Yes, it's in the fear level, and it can be in the caution or wariness level, because again, as we said, in the fear level, you get to examine what belief systems have been part of your growth experience that may not necessarily have anything to do with the ones you need to keep.
So when we're following our passion and fears come up, this is the level at which they start coming up?
Yes. And now you can re-identify and define them in ways that work for you, such as the example we gave of making fear your friend, that it is letting you know you have something within you as a definition that doesn't work for you, and therefore you're using fear in a positive way to let go of things that are out of alignment with your true self that you may have picked up along the road of gaining experience in physical reality.
So it's at this level, this is where we start redefining our thoughts around the fear that we're experiencing and exploring it and starting to transform it, right? And then you move into the next level, which is the actual, true, irrational fear.
Yes, this is where you allow the negative belief systems to become predominant, and you go into irrationality. And therefore, the amplification of the predominant negative belief systems, adding their energy to this formula, creates the idea of irrational fears that then create apparent difficulty in bringing in more positive belief systems to mitigate them.
This is when you feel like you're losing your mind, right?
Yes.
And you don't know what's true. You don't know what's real.
Yes.
You think that people are trying to hurt you or
Yes.
something, and they're not really doing it. You start projecting your own
Correct.
fears onto other people.
Correct.
Okay. And then the death one is when there's no ability to resolve.
Where you have brought yourself to a place where you've painted yourself into such a corner, you have no ability, no view, no vision of any possible resolution.
So that's a complete loss of hope.
Yes.
Does that happen a lot on our planet?
How many people die? How many people commit suicide?
Okay, so that's more like where you've gotten to the point that your irrational fear is so out of control that it literally kills you.
Yes, and that means you can actually just drop dead, or you can actually take your life. Or have someone else do it for you in a negative way. There are obviously positive versions of choosing to die. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the idea of the irrational fears building to such a fever pitch that you simply find there is simply no other exit, no way back. There is only one door, and that door is called death. Or, for some people, insanity, where they simply check out to the point where they are not experiencing the reality at all anymore that they believe was responsible for their present condition. In a sense, it's a kind of death, because you become something that is really not the person you started out to be at all, and experience reality completely through a dissociative state. So it's a death of the original personality. Whether that physically happens or not is not the issue. It's the death of the original personality as an escape route.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the horror movies they show where people can't scream or something like that, and they just die, you know?
Yes. Dying of fright is a real thing.
Wow.
Your body will shut down. Your heart will stop. Your mind will go blank. You'll exit. You'll escape.
So all those people they put in asylums back in the 20s and everything,
Yes.
they were in that state where
Well,
they
not all of them.
but a lot of them.
Some of them, yes. Because again, remember that back in those times, you had different definitions about what constituted the idea of insanity. And they were not all truly insane. They were just put upon by the mores of society that didn't buy into what those people were experiencing in their lives. Now, some of them, when they were put in those situations, might have eventually gone insane by being put there, but that doesn't mean they were all insane when they started.
But it's also one of those things where when you see that level of insanity expressed over so many beings simultaneously, you wonder what's going on, you know, why that happens to us. So this
Well, now you have the spectrum of fear. We have now delivered the formula of the spectrum of fear. You can see how it accumulates, what adds to what to create the next level. So this is something you can absorb and ponder in your own time if you wish, or you can ask a question about it when you come up. It's up to you. But you can start with your regular discussions and questions if you wish.